everybody, my name is Allie Buckman with the Potomac Bead Company, and today I am going to be doing a video for you called the Caribbean Breeze bracelet. It's a fun bracelet that teaches you a very simple way to bezel beads that don't have holes in them. In this case, we're using crystal Chatons, the Preciosa brand crystal Chatons, and we're bezeling them using the 2-hold brick bead, which is a checkmate bead that we're going to be using, and it's going to hold in the Chatons. This bracelet is actually a bracelet that I'll be teaching at Bead Button, and I'm really excited to kind of share these easy tips and tricks with you as we create and design the bracelet. This bracelet can easily be turned into a necklace as well because of the way that it's strung. It really does lend itself to turn and twist and really have fun creating this bracelet. For the bracelet, if you need any of the materials, below the video, there's a date stamp description which has when the video was produced and when we put it on. Underneath that, there's a little drop-down arrow or a show more button. From there, you can get links to purchase all of these materials online from me. If you need any materials, you can go to that list, or up in the right-hand corner here, there's a little I, which is information from us, the video creators, and you can click on that and get some information as well, what all the different products are and links to those different things that are included. So to do the project, we are going to be using, like I said, the Chatons. So here in my example piece, there's a color variety of the Chatons ranging in, 8 different hues or so. You're going to use about 11 or 12 of your Preciosa Chatons. I'll be using the white opal AB color, which is a nice kind of opalescent color, nice soft tone. In addition to the Chatons, which are SS39, that's stone size 39, they are approximately an 8.3 millimeter. We are also going to be using, like I said, those 2-hold bricks. This is the metallic flax, or the Aztec gold color, which is what we call it. I'll also be using a cup button in the Aztec gold color, and inside my cup button at the end I'll be using some E6000 glue to attach one of the Potomac crystal Rivolis in the 10 millimeter, and the color I'm going to be using is the crystal Capri gold, which is kind of a peachy golden color, which is what my theme is for this bracelet that I'll be creating with you guys. So you'll need one cup button, one 10 millimeter Rivoli, and then a tube of the 2-hold bricks and a pack of the Preciosa Chatons. In addition to all kinds of the specialty things here, you're going to be using 15-0 seed beads. Whether or not you want to use one color or 2 colors of the 15-0 is completely up to you. I'll be using 2 colors as I create. I'll be using the Duracoat Galvanized Champagne color in the Miyuki brand 15-0, as well as the Miyuki Blush Lined Crystal AB, which is again that nice kind of pale, soft pink color as we work into it. The project will be done with a size 12 needle. I like the Pony brand of these size 12s, and you'll be using one of those. You may want to have another one handy just in case the 12s kind of bend a little bit. And I'll be using Wildfire beading thread. I have the Wildfire beading thread in the .006 in a green color, which surprisingly blends and gets really hidden in the design. In addition to that, I have handy a thread zap, and I have my thread zap 2 here, ready to go to get my thread off my actual spool. And then you want to have a pliers, usually a needle nose or a flat nose pliers, in order to pinch down the end of the thread, which is going to make it easier for you to thread that size 12 needle. We're going to begin the project by having a size 12 needle on about 5 feet of beading thread. And this is a project that we make the whole thing in one progression line. So we're not coming back through the project and going from the bottom and then the top. We're going to be making one entire unit before we go on to the next entire unit. So if you want to and you don't want to add the clasp on right away, you can do a stop bead and we will add the clasp on after. So we're going to go ahead and get started with our design by making little piles of all of our beads. You can kind of put your 10 millimeter crystal and your cup button off to the side, and we're going to make little piles of our Chatons, our bricks, and then our 2 15-0 crystals. Again, 5 feet on your beading thread, and we'll get ready to get started. We're going to begin with the actual bottom of the bracelet. So when you're looking at it, it's going to look almost like you're starting at the very bottom. I have a stop bead on my thread, again that 5 feet of thread, and I go out about 10 inches of thread before the stop bead. That way I can go back and put the clasp on to the actual piece after we are completed with the actual row. So when you look at the bricks here, they're going to work as our building blocks, which are going to hold in our chatons. We're going to be starting on the bottom, and we're going to be creating our bottom here with our 4 bricks that have a 15-0 between them. This is going to be the back of the bracelet, so you're not going to see those 15-0s. So if you happen to have more of one than the other, or you're not sure exactly which one you want to use, it doesn't really matter. This one's going to be hidden. I'm going to go in and add 4 bricks, which are going to be separated out by my 15-0 seed beads. So I have 4 bricks that are going onto my thread and needle with a 15-0 between each, as well as after the last brick. So you're going to end up with 4 15s and 4 of your bricks. I'm going to let that drop down to my stop bead, and I'm going to circle around the project completely. So I'm going to go back through all 4 bricks and seed beads through that first hole. What that's going to do as I pull it is that's going to create a loop. That loop then I'm going to push down next to my stop bead. So right now it wants to be kind of up here at the top. Pull it down next to your stop bead, pulling that extra thread. From here, and from creating your little grouping of 4, what we're going to do is we are going to actually progress from the bottom of these 4 bricks, so the bottom hole of the bricks, to the top of the brick. What we're going to do is we're going to expose a little bit of thread on the side of the brick in order to bring it from the bottom to the top. So as you're looking at the brick here on this one right here, you can see a little bit of the thread. We are going to go from the bottom hole of the next brick in line. So we're going to sew through the next brick, and we're going to go from the bottom hole to the top hole of that brick. So we're on the bottom, we're coming out that bottom hole, and we're going to go to the top hole of the brick. That's going to progress us to the top of the actual brick, which is what we're going to use to hold in our chaton. From here, we're going to connect to that second hole of the brick bead with 4 of our 11-0 seed beads. These 4 seed beads I'm going to be doing in the blush color. So I'm going to add 4 of my blush beads onto my needle. And once I have those 4 blush beads on, I'm going to go from that second hole of the brick there to the second hole of the next brick in line. Again, I'm coming out the second hole of the brick. I'm going to add my 4 blush beads. And go through the second hole. So I'm doing this the whole way around the circle because I'm going to actually pull it up then and create my little bezel for my chaton to sit inside of. So I have my 4 seed beads that have gone the whole way around, catching on to the second hole of all of my bricks. When I pull tight, it's going to create kind of that little bit of a bezel shape, that little bit of a rounded shape that my seed beads then, or that my chaton is going to sit inside of. From here, I'm going to create a little peak around each of my two-holed brick. The peak of the brick coming out of it is going to be 5 seed beads. I'm going to stick with the blush color for these 5 seed beads. How I'm going to create this is I'm going to go through my grouping of my seed beads. Coming out those seed beads then, I'll add my 5 blush 15s. So I have those 5 blush beads on the needle. I'm going to skip over the brick and go into the next 4 seed beads. Give a nice tight pull. Go ahead and grab 5 more of your blush beads. Skip over the brick and catch on to the other 4 blush beads. You're continuing this the whole way around, which is going to get you an additional 20 of your 15-ohs onto your needle, 4 groups of 5. And you're sewing through the grouping of 15-ohs that's connecting that second hole of all the bricks. From this section then we have our 5 seed beads in the blush color on. I'm going to finish up by going through those first 4 seed beads again. Oops. And then from there I have all 5 seed beads along the corners of those bricks. From here we're going to go and progress through 3 of those first 5 seed beads that we added going around the brick. So we're coming out the 3rd bead. The reason we're coming out the 3rd bead is because that is going to kind of create our little bezel as we pull those 3 beads in and connect with 3 more seed beads. So at this point you want to have your chaton ready, and I'm going to switch over to my champagne colored seed beads. Again, we're going to use 3 of our seed beads, and what we're going to do is spin around the 2-hole bricks at the top, connecting on to that 3rd bead of all of our groupings of 5. That's going to be the peak bead, which is going to pull that bezel then in, creating that little chaton, or that little bezel for the chaton. 3 more seed beads get added. Count 3 beads up, 1, 2, 3, to that peak bead right over top of the brick. I have 2 of my sides in. I'm going to get a 3rd side in. So I have my 3 seed beads, go over to the brick and pull that thread in. From here I have kind of my nice little bezel ready to go. I'm going to drop my chaton in and kind of position it and move it around, and then pull my thread in. From here I have my 3 more seed beads that need to be added. So I'm going to add these 3 and go back through that first bead that you were coming out of in that grouping of 5. So you're going to come out that center peak bead above the brick. From there, you're going to kind of push and make sure that that chaton goes down inside that pretty little pink and gold bezel. And we're going to sew around all 3 of those seed beads as well as that corner bead 2 times. What this is going to do is bring that in, make sure the chaton is nice and tightly secured in there. And it's also going to bring a nice dimension to the piece where you won't see a lot of extra thread, and they're super securely set in there. When you turn then around the project, you can see that nice little bezel set chaton in there with the seed beads on the side. And when you set it down, you can see how we are then going to progress and basically start over. From the second hole of that brick there, we're going to create and add on our next piece of our chaton. So to create that next piece of chaton, we need to get to one of the corner pieces and to that second hole of the brick. To do so, when going around the middle, you're going to come out one of the corner beads, one of those blush beads, and then you're going to sew down through the 2 blush beads along the side of it. Give a nice little yank, and that's going to pull that center in. And you're going to sew from one side of that brick to the other side of the brick. From here, we're going to get ready and attach our first of our next bricks for our bezel of 4. To attach the next brick, we are going to use 3 15-0s. We're going to use 2 in our blush color and 1 in the champagne color in a pattern of blush, champagne, blush. So into the next brick, and then do again blush, champagne, blush. Let that kind of drop down next to the project, and you're going to circle around through that second hole of that same brick that your thread is coming out of. From here, I'm going to reinforce that, circling around this another time. So I've gone through 2 times connecting those 2 bricks together. From here, go back through your grouping of 3 15s. We're going to sew through our brick, and then from the top hole of the brick to the bottom base hole of the brick. From here, we get to start over. So we're starting over with our 4 brick beads with a 15-0 between each. So that's going to be how we combine and how we go from one to the other. So I have my first brick on that I connected to, and then I'm going to add 3 more bricks and 4 seed beads. Circling through those, that's going to be my bottom for my chaton to sit in. Go ahead and circle through that one more time, just like we did at the start, reinforcing it by adding a second thread through the base of this chaton bezel. Coming out this chaton bezel then, and going through, we're going to progress from the bottom hole to the top hole and do the same count and the same numbering of seed beads that we did on the first. So your thread and needle are coming out one of the bottom bricks on the side. You're going to go into the top hole, and we're going to start that progression of 4 of our seed beads in our blush color. So you're going to go 4 seed beads connecting to each brick. After our 4 seed beads, we're going to connect to those 4 seed beads by adding 5 more of our 15-0s. As you progress, you're just going to pretty much ignore the fact that this bead connection space is even there. So you're just going to go through, add your 4 15s, ignoring the fact that those seed beads are kind of even there. You're going to sew through that second hole of all of the bricks. What that's going to do then, you're going to push that brick down, so that way it's popping up towards the top, because you want your chatons all facing the exact same way. So again, you just kind of ignore the fact that those beads are even connected there. You're going to go around in the circle now and add in those groups of 4. After the groups of 4, you're going to add your group of 5 blush, and then circle to the top peaks, adding in the 3 seed beads and circling around. This is going to continue approximately 11 to 12 times until you get the length of your bracelet that you want to achieve. If you have a smaller wrist, you may even do 10 of your chaton groupings. So continue on now with the design, adding in all of your chatons and creating your brick bezels. Now that I have my second chaton in place, I want to make sure to add my next one at the actual corner point. So when we added the first, it didn't really matter which of our brick we were coming out of. As we progress, we want to make sure that we're adding to the brick that's across from the previous one. So I'm coming out the 15-0 that is right across or right above the brick that I need to connect to. Going down the seed beads on the side, I'm going to go down those 2 blush and then sew through and out that second hole of the brick there. From there, I'm going to add my seed bead rotation of my blush, champagne blush, add on a brick, and then again, blush, champagne, blush, and again, circle through those beads one more time, going back through the brick, and then back through the seed beads along the side, as well as the brick, seed beads on the side, and then back through the brick that you connected to. From there, we're going to progress on to the third component, just like we did the second, going through the seed beads along the side here. And then through that first hole of the brick that we're going through already. And then with a little bit of thread exposed, we're going to go from the top hole to the bottom hole of the brick. From that bottom hole of the brick then, we continue with the design, adding in the next 15-0 and 3 bricks with the 15-0s between them. Get that next center bezel set, and then progress with our progression of 4, then 5, then 3 seed beads, adding in our next of our opal chatons. Once you're done adding all of your actual little sections here, then it's going to be time to put on the clasp closure. So again, we're going to be using one of our cup buttons, and I'm going to be gluing in one of my Potomac crystal Rivolis. To glue that in, I do have some E6000 glue that we'll be working with. For the one end, we're going to be doing a cup button, and the other end, we're going to be making a loop out of seed beads. To continue with my color pattern, and because my crystal is more the pink color, I'm going to do my loop out of the gold seed beads, which are going to go around the gold cup button. It doesn't really matter which you do first, if you do the cup button first or if you do the loop first. Either one is going to work for you. I'm going to go ahead and put on my cup button first, and then I'll do my loop on the other end. So when I'm doing my cup button, I'm here out of the last of my 15-0s at the top. And I'm through the last of the 15-0s, having gone around 2 times. And I'm going to come down the side of the project here and come out just as if I was getting ready to start on my next component. From the next component, I've gone through the 2 beads there, and I'm going to go through my brick. Once I'm coming out of the brick, I'm going to make a loop and attach the cup button as so. Again, I'm going to use the golden color, pour a couple of those out, and I'm going to put on 4 of my 15-0s in the gold. I'm going to go up through the seed bead, or up through the clasp, and I'm not going to put any beads on the top of the clasp because that's where I'm going to glue in my crystal. So I'm just going to take the thread right across the cup button and go down through the opposite hole, add on 4 more seed beads, and then just as if we were adding on our next brick bead, I'm going to reinforce and go through that same hole of the brick, and then I'm going to go up through all the seed beads that I just added, as well as the cup button. So I'm going to go through all these seed beads here, the 4 seed beads on the one side, go through the cup button, and then we're going to go through the 4 seed beads on the opposite side as well. So I'm going to come down the cup button. That's going to get 2 strands of thread through. When I come down the cup button on the other side, I'm also going to make sure that I am going through all of those seed beads too. So I'm going to go through all 4 seed beads, bring my thread out, and go through that brick bead. From here, I'm going to go from the top hole, or the outermost hole, to the inner hole of that same brick bead, and I'm going to start going around the little component there, and then I'm going to tie off my thread. To tie off my thread, I'm going to go underneath a bridge thread, or a thread between the beads, make a loop, and sew through that loop 2 times. So I'm going to sew through once, and then I'm going to sew through 2 times, making a loop that I'm going to pull nice and tight, and that's going to create a nice tight knot. From there, I'll do it another time, going back into the project, sewing through the project here, right along that baseline, making a loop underneath the bridge thread, going through the loop once and twice. Make sure that thread is both knots there in the middle of one of the threads there at the base, and give a nice tight pull. From there, if you want to, and you have some E6000 thread, you can grab the E6000 thread the super new glue, and you can glue the end of that thread. I'm going to take my thread burner, cut off the thread from the needle, and then I'm going to fuse the thread down making a ball out of the thread, which is going to make it so that it doesn't go through and that knot does not come apart. On the other side then, it's going to be time to do my clasp. On this side here, I'm going to take the starter thread and kind of flatten it out. Go into the piece that you just did, take the needle off, and I'm going to put the needle on this first end. Like I said, if you want to and you start making these, you can actually add the clasp first. That's kind of up to you. For me, it's easiest to show at the end how to add on both sections, but you could easily have done this at the start of the project as well. I'm going to thread my needle here, and then I'm going to get ready to make my loop on the other side of the thread. The loop I'm going to make big enough and just coming out the same way in order to go around my cup button with a crystal attached inside. On the starter thread end then, I'm going to take off my stop bead. The thread's going to be at the base of this brick, and we're going to go to the top hole of the brick. Coming out then the top hole, it's going to give me enough here to do my loop. For my loop, I'm going to put on 3 of my 15-0s in my gold color. I'm going to use 1 in my pink color because that blush color is going to let me know exactly which bead I need to sew through. So I'm going to take 1 of the blush, and then I'm going to put on about 28 or so of the 15-0s in the gold color. This is going to allow me enough room to go around the cup button, not only just with the cup button, but with the cup button when it has the crystal glued in. The crystal glued in is going to make it a little bit bigger, so you're going to make that loop bigger than average to go around both the button and the button with the crystal inside. If you have a regular clasp that you want to work with, a push clasp or a clasp guarding clasp of some sort, something nice and pretty, you can also do that if you're not a fan of the buttons. If you're not a fan of the button clasp, I would suggest using wire guards or wire protectors before putting on any sort of metal clasp. That's going to protect your thread from rubbing, and it's going to then put the clasp that is going to go right against metal rather than against thread. Once you have your loop big enough for the cup button to go through, we're going to take it and reinforce that loop that we just created. To reinforce the loop, I'm going to go ahead and actually take the thread back through the loop. Before doing so, I'm going to take my thread and needle and go back to that pink or that beige bead there, that blush bead, and we're going to sew through that blush bead back towards the project. That's going to make that nice loop. And then I'm going to repeat adding 3 seed beads like I did to the starter side. Go into the opposite side of that brick bead, just like we did at the start, as well as if we're going and adding on. And we're going to reinforce this whole thing, going up through this 3 seed beads on the side, as well as that middle blush bead, and then the whole way around the loop. From here, and from creating the loop and making all the beads through it, I'm going to be able to then tie off the thread just like I did on the other side, going through and under one of the bridge threads, and then creating a knot underneath the bridge threads, making the loop and taking the thread through that loop 2 times. So I'm going to go ahead and finish going through this clasp loop. And anytime I go through a clasp loop or I'm going through the loop, I always want to make sure to have at least 2 pieces of thread going through that. I'm going to come down the opposite side here. And once I'm down the opposite side, give a nice tight pull, go through that clasp there, and then back down along. So I'm going right along this baseline here, and I'm going to pick up that bridge thread, sewing underneath the thread, and then go back through that knot 2 times. Once and twice. Pull it nice and tight and create that little knotted section there. From here, again, if you want to, you can do your super glue glue and glue down that knot, or you can go back through, grab your thread burner like I'll do after I get another one in here, and go ahead and glue down on that knot that I just created. So I'm going to take that thread burner, burn the thread down a little bit, go back in here then, and create a balled end there. And that ball end on the thread is going to stop it from coming apart. Once you're done that, then you are done with the complete bracelet. Whether or not you do it in one color or multiple colors, it's a really fun design. All you have to do then is go in and take your crystal and glue it inside your cup button. That's really simple. I have other videos if you kind of want them more detailed, but literally all you're going to do is once you have the design done, you're going to open up your E6000 tube, and I would highly suggest using the E6000 as your glue of choice because it has a nice, really nice bonding agent to it. You're going to drop a little bit of glue inside the project there. You don't want to overdo it or the glue will kind of expand out the sides. Put the lid back on your glue, and this is the 0.18 fluid ounces. I like this one the best because it doesn't dry up before you're done using it. And you're literally going to take the button, put it inside, or the crystal, put it inside the button, kind of move it around a little bit. I give it a little spin, and then you're just going to sit and let it dry. If you do have any glue that happens to come out on the sides of the crystal, you can go ahead and take a needle kind of around the edge and clear out the edge of the glue as well. But that's going to finish up the whole bracelet. If you didn't get a chance to take the class with me at Bead Button, hopefully you've learned from this video and have enjoyed creating this Caribbean Breeze bracelet. And like I said, have fun kind of working with it, whether or not you're doing a necklace or a bracelet, since it lends itself to both. And be creative with your color choice. Have fun whether or not you do it multicolors or stick to kind of the sweetheart colors here that I created for you. Again, if you need any of the materials, you can go back to the very first clip of the video, to the little introduction or to the little eye in the corner. Also, keep in mind below the video, there's always that date stamp that says when the video was created. If you scroll down or push show more on that little video creation date, then you will be given links to all of these materials as well. As always, everybody, thank you so much for watching. Have fun creating this simple bezel design and creating your very own Caribbean Persian breeze and that fun kind of flow of crystals and chatons. Thanks, everybody, and have fun creating.